Hello and welcome. This is a Philips 138, or locally named as the Mistral Four, and it proved a little bit tricky in the end. The dial string had been broken, and while it wasn't that difficult to restring, the dial pointer was in an awkward position, and it's still rather troublesome. I chose not to do the electrolytic capacitors because I don't have the values, so they'll wait down the track, but otherwise it was reasonably simple to do. I had recapped it earlier in the year when I first picked it up and cleaned the case. It was in pretty disgusting condition. Some of the capacitors were leaking, literally everywhere, and it was pretty filthy dirty. So it had been out in a shed or something like that. It was part of a haul of about 10 or 11 radios from down in Tyab. The guy was about to throw them in the skip. He'd moved them from a shed or somewhere like that. He was in the Tyab packing house, which is a very big old Apple storage area, cool room. So I picked them up for about $150. So I hope you enjoy the video. Here it goes. So this Mistral has no power switch, and the schematics suggest that it should have. These are the power leads. So the switch must be in this wafer here. I've taken out the screws and the spacers. So now I'm going to undo the shaft. And let's have a look. See if that gets us any closer. No. So I'll see if I can unscrew the wafer from the volume control. There's very old paint on it. So we'll get to this bottom one. Okay, so that's just insulation by the looks of it. Not quite. there's two springs on levers here, but I can't quite see what they're supposed to do. Doesn't appear to be anything to trip it. Ah, so this rocks backwards and forwards. I don't know whether you can see that. So that's off, that's on. Well, the mechanism seems to be okay. With a little bit corrosion on there. So it looks like there's a little lever inside the volume pot. Don't know that I can show you. Oh yeah. So when that... Today I'm trying a new microphone, the Rode shotgun that I have. I'm also trying a new lens on the Sony ZV-E10. And it's much cooler today, so we should be able to get on with it. Sadly, the lights are not going to arrive until next week now, so that's a delay of another week, but hopefully, fingers crossed, they should come in. And that's about it, I think, on the news front. So we're going to get back to this radio. This was fixed apparently on Monday, and the switch is now clicking. Hopefully you can hear that. So that's all been reconnected. So we'll buzz that through and see if in fact that fixes the power problem. So we'll do that. There we go. We seem to have continuity. So let's get a power lead onto it. Now this is quite dangerous, so don't do this at home. This is just a very temporary fix. So I'll bring this around here. So it's just stuff through the terminals there. There is evidence that it was soldered onto there at one stage. Okay. So 0 volts. I'll just bring this up and see if I've got the globe working. Can't turn the switch. There we go. Yes, that seems to be working. Okay, so we'll turn it off and solder those on. And put the switch back in. So we'll be back after that. Back again, and the volume control and the switch are in position. The power has been connected up and it's been earthed. So let's see how we go. There's no valves in it at the moment. So at 60 volts, the globe is on. So we have power through to the set at long last. So I'll just bring this up to a bit higher. So hopefully you can see the globe. Then we'll turn it all off. And we'll put our valves back in again. Which are actually pretty dirty. Rightio, so here we go again. We'll see what happens. Still on dim bulb, I think. Yes, we're still on dim bulb. So we're on 180 volts at the moment. So this valve is coming up. Can't see anything from this one yet. The other three are not glowing yet, so let's bring the voltage up a little bit. 200. It's making creaking noises, at least. So the detector valve is glowing. and this one is glowing a little bit. Okay, let's get a speaker onto it. Bought these leads yesterday and they are so stiff that they're unmanageable. Anyway, the speaker lead seems to come off of this lug here, which is actually attached to the ground, so I'm not sure about that. And the other one is here. So we'll turn it on. We'll see if we get any sound out of it. So we're at 180 volts at the moment. Ooh, we made a few clicking noises then. Smell the burning dust. Nothing. Now I am worried about this here at the back of the volume pot. I'm not sure what was attached to that. Definitely has a lead which seems to be broken off. So I still haven't quite worked out where this goes on the back of the pot. So I thought I would check the continuity on the output transformer. That seems good. So the schematic seems to indicate this goes to ground. So this should be a 0.05 capacitor here. So this goes through this capacitor, this resistor, and into this valve here on the grid, which makes sense. The other connection goes through this shielded lead here over to it's actually not switched on, so I don't like the way this multimeter beeps every time you touch something. Okay, so this goes from the wiper of the pot over to this terminal here, through this resistor and round to the coil. And there's a couple of other bits and pieces that hang off of it. So this should be an earth, according to this. So let's see what this does. Wait for it to warm up a little bit. Nothing. So 190 on that one. $178 there. Yep, we definitely have output. I can't actually easily check one of the valves because it's directly underneath there. Still don't know about this here. Seems very strange. That it's not an earth. Okay, so we'll get back to you in a moment. Right, so I think I've worked out what's wrong. This capacitor was actually just hanging down and touching this terminal here. It was actually a 33. And it should be a 0.05 or these days 0.047. So what I'll do is I've attached this, make sure it's not touching there, and it's not soldered at the moment. In fact, I will solder that. Still going through the dim bulb, so it shouldn't be an issue. Okay, bring it down to 140. Then we'll slowly bring it up again. 160, 180. 200. And we have liftoff.
Malcolm is one of a kind. Talking about, see, I mean, Malcolm is your example of it. Is this your example of it? Foreign Minister Maurice Payne, a former...
Craft.com.au.
Australia, when the mornings heat up, cool down with a McCafe Ice Latte, Ice Long Black or Ice Mocha. They're smooth, refreshing. The new McCafe blend. Now that's coffee fit for an Aussie. Available at participating restaurants.
A winning team is built on a combination of determination and professionalism. And Lexus of Brighton is committed to delivering this every day. From servicing your car to helping you with a new one, the dealership and service centre is open for business. Lexus of Brighton offers personalised pick-up and drop-off services, and your car is returned thoroughly cleaned inside and out.
Brings you Karaka. New Zealand's horses consistently punch above above their weight on racetracks around the world. And this is thanks to the incredible passion and expertise of New Zealand's top breeders. From Immortals, Farlap and Bone Crusher to Werther and Melody Bell, we salute you. Secure your next champion. The journey begins at Karaka, nzb.co.nz.
It's barbecuing season. Heat and Grill in Richmond and High Point is open for...
I don't think that is actually New Zealand. I think it's just some sort of horse racing thing. So it all seems to be working properly. Now the $64 question is how to get in and replace the electrolytics. They're going to be a right royal pain. I think I'm going to have to take off the output transformer to get in there, and there's a few resistors over the top, so it's not going to be an easy job, and there's actually nowhere to put them again, although I can probably put one down the front here, and might have to run leads right round here or something, because there's very little space in this chassis to put any sort of electrolytics. Okay, so that's my next task. I don't have any 24 microfarad capacitors at the moment, so I'll have to order some more of those. There's a couple of other radios that also need them. I don't know why I didn't make a bigger order last time, but there you go. So this radio is working quite well at the moment.
Relations, and also that's saying that's not how world leaders should be behaving.
So it sounds a little bit distorted. What I'm going to do next is to attempt to restring the dial, which is going to be a real barrel of fun. I hate restringing dials. So here we have the bits. Fortunately, we do have all the bits, so the spring looks reasonable. The pointer looks okay with its slider, and we have the little ring on the end. So it looks like it may have been, oh, maybe not. So here we go. Now we do have a stringing diagram. So this looks very clear as to what needs to be done. So we'll turn this off. Now this actually looks a little bit thinner than the original. So I'm going to actually unscrew this. A moment. Take So I'll put the radio the right way, same way as the diagram. So 2 1/4 turns. 1, 2, 1/4. Okay, that goes there. Okay. So we're going to have to cut this. So under here. Over this pulley which is underneath the chassis. Over, yep. So I need to tie the little ring on. So 1 3/4 turns. So 1. Okay, this goes up around here. Down to here. Okay. That's marked. Love to know what the neighbours do. So we'll loop that around there a couple of times. And tie this off. Okay, so not quite tight enough. Grr. So we're going to just do around here again. Yes, it slipped. And over the tab. And fixed. Well, that was surprisingly easy. Let's trim off this, a little bit of extra. Okay, now we need the case. And this is where the fun begins. Because the dial pointer goes down underneath here and the bar goes across here. So somehow we've got to bring it down through here. So this must go over the top of the string. And of course the washer has just disintegrated, hasn't it? Right, so this rod seems to be glued in or something. This is evidence of glue on the cabinet. So what I'm going to do is reconnect up these speakers, or this speaker. I'll have to go and get the hot glue gun. First I need to go and get the other bits and pieces for it. Okay. Let's turn it on again and see if it still works. While it's warming up, I'll have a sip of my tea.
Really spectacular examples of one kind of camouflage called Masquerade, which is where you pretend to be something you're not, rather than simply pretending not to be there. You know, a caterpillar that might look like the end of a dead branch, or a caterpillar that might look like a snake. Caterpillars are masters of all kinds of masquerade. It gets pretty weird. But I mean, the key thing really with anti-predator defences is that it's the predators that are driving it. So we always have to think of anti-predator defences from the predator's point of view. What the predator experiences, what the predator...
So this is at about 200 volts.
The complexity, you know, why a lady beetle might be red instead of yellow and black, that's all down to what predators they have. So it's sort of cool because you can go, okay, well, if this animal has a red one,
it's 220 volts.
then we know there's a whole pile of animals that can't see red. So we can immediately rule them out. as being the predator that's driving that particular adaptation. So that's kind of fun. When you
It's still on the dim bulb, and
there is another
I have
type
very
of
little
protective
life out of the
display
dim bulb.
that's particularly important for the mountain casing.
So I'm going to bring it over to full power.
Was coined. As far as we can tell, it is from the root that is shared with the name for the Greek god for terror, which is Deimos, which is the brother of Phobos, which is of course here.
So my estimate of the pointer wasn't too bad. I don't know how that, maybe that's paint up there. So this definitely needs the rod gluing in. As I said, the pointer estimate wasn't too bad because it's at the end of the dial. So my next step is to go and get the heat gun and the parts for it, the knobs. I've just read the instructions on how to remove the chassis from the cabinet, and it says to remove the dial from the string. So I've done that, and it is 10 times easier. So I'll pull this out again. So I'm just going to let that sit there like that for a little while. Now there is a lug. You can see that. This over. So there is a lug on there, and there's a screw there which has been pulled off or something like that because the plastic is broken. So I have all the bits here now. Now, if I remember correctly, this goes over the dial. Get something to wipe to clean this off. All right, so it looks like I have to go down to Bunnings yet again and get some self-tapper screws of some description. And this side is missing its clamp, like there used to be spring clamps. So I'm going to have to find something that'll suffice for that as well. So I shall be back after a trip to Bunnings. At least it's open. Okay, so I'm just back from Bunnings. I've got these sheet metal screws. That's in focus. I can't tell because of the zebra stripes. So this is an 8G 9mm and this is a 10G 12mm. So I suspect that the previous person has used the 8G. Yes. So the 8G has done the trick. So you can find a better screwdriver. Before I left, I put some glue on the other end. It doesn't seem to have set at all. So that's still a bit loose. And of course I didn't bring back my heat gun, my glue gun, did I? Very good. Right, so I found a couple of washers, and this is quite tight now, although it's still loose on this side. So what I'm going to do is try this glue again, this weld bond, which is actually made in Canada for all you Canadian viewers. And I'll take this off and move it around a little bit. And I'll put a blob of glue. Well, that's a big blob of glue. And I'll put this over the top. This glue seeped out around the base of the standoff. And hopefully it'll set in a couple of days. That should hold the rod in. So I'll put the chassis back in. Not quite sure why there's 5 of these little aluminium things in here. I believe they went over the back of the chassis and held that in. Also bought a better screwdriver, so I'm going to see how this works. This is pull. Does this fit? Yes. This is much easier. So this is yellowed quite a bit over the years. I'm going to try and retro bright this particular one. It's not in fabulous condition. Needs polishing up there. So I'll do that in a couple of weeks when the weather settles down. Although they're predicting that this wet weather we're having, this wet spring, is going to continue on. So this just sits in here like so. Hex nuts. Which I'm yet to polish up. This dial is New South Wales and Queensland. Of course, they made them for all the states and territories. I'm not sure about Northern Territory. Here are the knobs. This one is pretty much had it, I would say, and it's been broken off at some stage. This one seems to be in reasonable nick. I believe you can get them from overseas, replacements. So I'm going to put this on the volume control. I think this is the volume. These are so fragile. Oh, that's the tuning. And I haven't connected the dial point, have I? So we'll go down this direction. It has actually shifted. Maybe there was 2 on here. But that still doesn't explain the 5th one. I was wondering if that is supposed to be a spacer. To bring, yeah. So each side takes 3. So this is how it goes. So 2 pointing that way and this one pointing vertically. It would explain things, because the chassis sits a little bit proud of the case. Aha. Much better. So every time I tighten the screw up, the cord rides up on the... It either moves it along when I tighten the screw, or the string rides up and comes out. That'll do for now, because it'll have to be adjusted. I don't know what the frequencies for New South Wales and Queensland are. Although I can easily look on another radio. So let's try putting, that dial is working okay. It needs some grease and oil on it. It's not fully on, but it will do for now. Now the back is a bit of a mess. I do have all the parts, but putting them back together again is not going to work really. So this will just have to sit in here like so for a little while until I can either buy a new back or manufacture one myself. Should there be a market for remanufactured backs? These seem to suffer heat damage. So there is one little screw. There is a little screw. Which side is better. I think this side. For now. Okay, so this is the radio 90% finished. Get it in camera. Keep on forgetting this screen is mirror image, which is a bit of a nuisance. Yeah. So let's plug it in. We'll try it through the dim bulb first, just in case I've knocked something. This is without proper aerial, it's just this little bit of wire. Of course, we're picking every electrical appliance in the house up.
Unequivocally, over the club's decision that are going to enable all the plastic.
Do you like to wear one?
I'm Janet Courtney, member for reality television.
I like that.
This is Stop Everything, and we're talking to Shane because Shane's written a memoir, Courtney by Shane Janet, otherwise known as Courtney.
Okay, we'll stick an aerial on it.
Shane, can we just go back to Drag Race for a second? Because I was listening to you talk about the experience of being on a show versus what actually comes out on TV, and it makes me think about our own local version that we have now, Drag Race Down Under. There have been quite a few critiques of the first season, and we're going to have to wait and see how the second season shapes up. But because you have that unique experience of knowing what it's like on the inside and then seeing the edit, what has your read of that first season been? And there have been a lot of critiques about JoJo Zaho going first and kind of the way the Australian drag might not have been understood by RuPaul. So I'd love to know what you think.
Look, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because I'm so excited that Australian drag got to be celebrated and included in this
Correct interrogation.
What should do?
The fork in the road I almost took was, and I reckon there'd be about 20 you could choose from here, but give me a really good one.
Well, that's exactly right.
In spite of what we know, in spite of this...
2 Sir a half. Willowy's going to have a go. 2 Sir. Willowy dives.
It's 9:30 in the morning and there's already horse racing starting.
Emissions reductions by 2030, well ahead of the 26 to 28.
Assault and harassment charges remaining on the table. He and his friend Luke Dyson, of course, alleged to have attacked that 37.
That she recruited underage girls for...
入邊，如果我哋 stop 咗個車咧，係個俾你 stop 咗個車之後。
What's happened?
Okay. So it needs the electrolytics, obviously. I can't do that until they arrive, which can be anywhere from a week to 6 weeks. This last order from Canberra took 6 weeks. But it's working quite well. I've a couple more things to do. The cabinet has cleaned up quite well. Needs a bit of a polish, which I'll get around to 1 year. The dial and the speaker grill need retrobrighting and a bit of cleaning up on the edges. But all in all, it's been a good radio to work on, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you sometime in the future. I've got a few projects coming up, so you won't have to wait long. Goodbye.